To most fans, James LaBrie is the powerful voice behind Dream Theater, one of the most technically brilliant and influential progressive metal bands in the world. His soaring vocals, dynamic range, and emotional delivery helped shape albums like Images and Words, Awake, and Metropolis, PT2, Scenes from a Memory into masterpieces. But behind the complex music and incredible stage presence is a story far more human and far darker than most fans ever realized. In 1994, LaBrie's world was shattered by a single moment that changed his voice and nearly ended his career. While vacationing in Cuba with his family, James contracted a serious case of food poisoning. As his condition worsened, he began vomiting violently. In one of those moments, he tore his vocal cords on injury most singers fear more than anything. He would later describe it as feeling like someone had ripped something out of his throat. The damage was devastating. For years after the incident, LaBrie's voice was never the same. Once able to hit powerful high notes effortlessly, he now struggled with consistency, strength, and control. Critics, and even some fans, began to question his performances, unaware of the full extent of the trauma he was dealing with behind the scenes. But the injury was only one part of the darkness. What followed was a long, painful period of depression, isolation, and self-doubt. In interviews years later, James admitted that he became withdrawn, anxious, and even suicidal during this time. For a singer whose entire identity was built around his voice, to suddenly lose control of it was emotionally crushing. He continued to perform and record with Dream Theater, but every appearance came with fear. Would his voice hold up? Would fans notice? Would his bandmates lose faith in him? For over 5 years, James pushed through, rarely speaking publicly about the mental and emotional toll he was under. Most people watching him on stage had no idea he was living in constant dread of hitting the wrong note, of being judged, of not being enough. Behind the confident frontman was a man deeply struggling with insecurity and the pressure of living up to his past. But LaBrie didn't give up. Through years of vocal therapy, self-reflection, and resilience, he slowly rebuilt his voice and his confidence. He learned new techniques, adapted his style, and proved to both fans and himself that he still belonged at the top. His later performances on albums, like A Dramatic Turn of Events, Distance Over Time, and A View from the Top of the World, showed that his vocal power, though different, was far from gone. Today, James LaBrie stands not just as a survivor of physical injury, but of emotional trauma. His story is one of silent suffering, perseverance, and redemption. The story is far darker than most realized, not because of scandal or controversy, but because of how close he came to losing everything that defined him. And yet, he kept going. Not for fame, not for approval, but for the love of music. That's what makes his journey so powerful. Not just the voice, but the fight to find it again.